I wonder if Krusty Lou Studios is going to get a cut of this. Here's a look at the brand new Jakks Pacific. This is The Simpsons Krusty the Clown. Collect your favorite cartoon characters from the Simpsons TV series in Wave 2 of the Simpsons 5-inch figures featuring basic articulation. These iconic characters from the Simpsons are sure to please cartoon lovers and collectors alike. What does that say? Talk to the audience? Oh, that's always death. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the Jakks Pacific, The Simpsons Krusty the Clown, let's take the tape measure and see just how tall the figure stands. He's going to be, if we include the little tuft of hair that he has on the top of his head, about 5 inches in height, or the funniest man in Springfield, debatable, of course, is going to stand about 13 centimeters tall. You want other Simpsons figures? I got your other Simpsons figures there. Here's first what the figure looks like with Bart Simpson. Here's also what he looks like with Bartman. Bring in some of the larger characters, though. Here's what he also looks like with Willie. Of course, we have also looked at Homer Simpson. And here's also what he looks like with Otto. As we had also done this with before, I'm just going to move actually Bartman over here. We'll also move Bart just a little bit right there. There we go. Let's also bring in his Super 7 counterparts. Much taller looking Krusty the Clown. Obviously, though, if people didn't get the chance to get the Krusty from Super 7, they probably would have saved also a little bit of extra cost. The one that we're getting here from Jakks Pacific is, I think, about the third the price of what we got from Super 7. Granted, Super 7 did throw in a lot of extra bells and whistles, alternate head sculpts, episode-specific tied-in accessories. But if you want the bare-bones Krusty the Clown with very limited accessories, as you'll see in a second, can't really get any bit better than what we're getting with Jakks here. Now, with Krusty the Clown here is actually getting released two ways. The larger, more articulated version that we're looking at in this review, he's also getting a 2.5-inch scale that's part of Wave 2. Limited on the articulation front, he's only going to have 5 points of articulation. He's part of that same wave that's going to have the partially winking Bart that has the slingshot, a Sideshow Bob in prison outfit, and Itchy and Scratchy. The only figures I could actually see myself getting from that Wave 2 2.5-inch scale is probably Itchy and Scratchy. I think they're going to be fitting perfectly in scale because they're only really about that big. Do they have limited articulation? Yeah, but I would much rather an Itchy and Scratchy about that size than an Itchy and Scratchy about that size. For the accessories, though, they come included with Itchy the Clown. It's right there. Comes included with both a stand for the mic and, of course, the mic itself. You'll be happy to know as well that the mic is removable. It's simple just to remove it from the stand. It just clips in place. It does survive at least the blizzard test, so if you're worried that this is going to fall out of the stand or the neck quite easily, it's not. It can be attached into his hands. He does have actually gripping hands. So if you want to have him holding the mic stand, you can do that. Or if you want to, you already know where this is going, you can also take the mic off and fit that also in his hand as well. Wouldn't that have absolutely sucked? Sorry. They've not made it be compatible with his hands and we wouldn't be able to hold it. It would just be there by name, by accessory name only, but not be something that Krusty the Clown can actually hold in his hand. As you can see, he holds it perfectly fine. He doesn't have really any other accessories. I guess they probably could have included like a box of Krusty-O's, for example, without, of course, the serrated piece inside. But I guess for what he is, I mean, to keep the cost down, they only give him like one accessory. And usually is the case when we look at these larger scale Simpsons figures from Jakks, they only tend to include like one or two accessories. Krusty, I guess if you include both the neck and the mic, he has 2 accessories. Getting, though, a closer look at Krusty the Clown. You know, one thing I will say, and I'm going to bring in the Super 7 release here, just so you guys can see really the difference. Obviously, size is really the biggest difference. But I really honestly think I like the coloring a little bit more from Jakks' release than Super 7's. Super 7's went a more paler approach when it came to Krusty's face. You can see as well with his hair, the nose on the front of his face, and of course the stubbled chin or stubbled face down below. They kind of went, again, more lighter. The darker color also more apparent here that the Jakks has a much darker pink, where he went the lighter pink here for the Super 7 release. You know, again, like looking at the two, very much obviously both of them are Krusty the Clowns. But I think, honestly, I like the coloring a little bit more for this one. It kind of actually reminds me of the earlier Simpsons episodes. We're talking like season 1, season 2, where they had a little bit more darker notable colors. I wonder if Smithers will ever get a season 1 release. He was very much a different color than we would get with Smithers later on in seasons. Head sculpt's looking good, though. It kind of goes with more just a neutral expression. I mean, he doesn't have a big smile or anything like that, nor does he have swappable heads. I'm sure it's not to say that we won't get ourselves a Krusty down the road. Maybe released in prison outfit, for example, when he first gets charged with the robbery of the Quickie Mart. Or maybe they may release a couple of other versions of Krusty the Clown where he has different facial expressions than what he has right now. but I'm generally quite happy with it. The hair is pretty soft, as well as the top of his head. He only has, again, a very limited articulation. The coloring on, again, his shirt is a little more of the darker pink as well. You can also say, too, that his bow tie is a much darker blue than the one that we get from Super 7. Again, he still has the same standard levels of articulation as if you have been collecting the Simpsons figures by now, you already know that he's going to have the same posability possessed in this figure that has pretty much been the case with all the Simpsons figures up to this point. Big, large clown shoes down below. They have also some additional posability there too, so you can also rotate them back and forth, up and down, all that stuff that goes along with the territory. I will say, though, I'm happy that getting this guy out of the packaging, he had tight joints. Some of these Simpsons figures, I think Otto had this, Bart may have also had this as well, came out of the packaging with surprisingly loose joints for a figure I hadn't even touched yet. Even though I've touched Krusty several times. Stop that. I'm happy to report again, like the joints seem pretty tight on this guy. Maybe a little loose on the one foot, but it's not to the point where I feel like he's flopping around. You can easily put him down, of course, on a shelf. I don't feel like he has a bit of a wobbling issue that the Super 7 release had. But for the articulation, though, for Krusty the Clown, his head's going to, of course, rotate only back and forth. You're not at all going to be getting a ball joint here. The arms do move all the way around. There is actually a hinge joint right here, so you can move them. Actually, there's a ball joint really connecting the shoulder to the rest of his body. So you can move it back and forth, forward and back that way. The figure does have a swivel in his bicep. Single hinge only in the elbow. No swivel here in the arm because basically all the swiveling is happening just below the sleeve. The hands also rotate back and forth. There's a waist swivel. Legs split out. Nice good ball joint happening there. Get a good gander at that. Okay, maybe don't be looking at Krusty's crotch. Legs move forward. Legs move back. Get back on focus. The knees are on only just a single hinge, and the hinge is kind of hard to get to. One good thing, though, is when you have the legs straight. Obviously, you can see the cut right there straight through his leg, but at least it keeps the legs somewhat seamless. And, of course, when it comes to his ankles, they move up and down. You can rock them back and forth as well. The figure does also technically have pegals on the undersides of his feet, but up to this point yet, I have not seen any of these figures from Jakks Pacific to come included with display stands. But, again, you could always really use a display stand that has been released by other figure companies. One last look, though. Let's bring back in the Super 7 release of Krusty the Clown, which I still have all of my Super 7 Simpsons figures on the shelf. I like the look of them. They obviously have one thing going for them, a lot more bells and whistles. This Krusty the Clown obviously only has just really the mic and the mic stand being his only bells and whistles. But again, a nice looking release. Now again, if you don't like the larger scale Krusty the Clown, this was like the 5-inch scale. There's also half that size in the 2.5-inch variety. Again, I don't think there's going to be much different really between the two. I don't know how really invested I'm going to be really in collecting the 2.5-inch scale Simpsons figures, just because I feel like, with only having so much of a budget to go start buying figures, if I'm getting just as good of the detailing that Jakks has done so far with the Simpsons figures in this larger scale, you're getting the benefit of obviously more articulation on these characters. I don't feel like I'm all that invested anymore. I knew this would happen. I knew that when I was going to be looking at these here on this channel, I was going to eventually come to the decision that I was going to be collecting one size over the other. Even though we had really looked at some of the 2.5-inch scale figures of The Simpsons earlier, I think I've now kind of settled on the idea I'm going to only really be collecting the 5-inch scale. That being said, though, of the Wave 2 of the 2.5-inch scale Simpsons, the ones I'm still probably going to be getting my hands on is Itchy and Scratchy, just because the scale of those figures, though being a little bit more limited in articulation, I think are going to work a lot better, not only with Krusty the Clown, but all the other Simpsons figures we've looked at so far. Again, no luck finding Krusty the Clown or any other Simpsons figure for that matter in local retail. Jakks is fine when it comes to distributing their Nintendo figures, and yet Simpsons, you can't find them at all here in Canadian stores. It only by off chance I went to a local toy show actually last week, and of all the things I picked up, one of the dealers did in fact have a Krusty the Clown, the one that we're looking at here, for $30. $30 is a price I'm willing to pay. It's certainly a lot less than what Super 7 was charging for their Krusty the Clown, and it was the only one that I saw at that toy show. They also had an Itchy. They didn't have a Scratchy. In hindsight, I probably should have just grabbed the one that they had and then just sourced out and tried to find the other one. But I was kind of hoping that I would be able to find both Itchy and Scratchy at the exact same time. Because again, that's the only two figures of Wave 2 of the smaller scale Simpsons figures I could actually see myself getting invested in. Just because, again, I think they're the perfect size for all the larger scale Simpsons figures we've been looking at so far here in this channel. Krusty the Clown looks quite good. Colors are good on this one as well, a little bit darker obviously in Super 7. We discussed that all in this review. Comes with only just a very limited bare bones when it comes to accessories, just a mic stand, but he successfully holds both. The figure looks good. I mean, for the posability that he possesses, I'm happy to also report as well that he's not loose at all anywhere on his limbs. Elbows and knees seem to be something that tends to get loose over time with some of these Jack Simpsons figures. So far out the box, Krusty the Clown is fine. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys also had any luck at all finding Simpsons figures in your local stores? Let me know down below in the comments section. In the meantime, though, if you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid. Throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit the subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course the most important thing is that you're coming back. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.